Blazor that is not released yet, that allows you to test the Blazor components, again, using Cucumber. And we've been doing the same as well for APIs and Azure functions that again, remove a lot of heavy lifting. And finally, we did that as well for Cypress to test your web application, again, using Cucumber. Ultimately, using the same statements, you can test all your application, be it mobile, be it web application, be it backend, and that's what we're open sourcing these days. And this is why I changed my topic right now, because I like to showcase that. I think it is bringing quite a lot of value, because still quite a lot of developers don't necessarily know how to handle testing, especially when it is UI testing. And it's better to keep it as simple as possible, because there's quite a lot of moving parts to it, and it's easy to get a bit lost. Right, let's get cracking. There is going to be literally 0 slide in this session. That's the only slide. That's going to be demo, and again demo. So everything is going to break, but you know, that's cool. Let's get down with it. See, next slide is QA. So we can start with the questions, maybe we wait for a little bit. So let me obliterate that part, and let's get Visual Studio here. Let me see, let me know if you cannot see anything at all. I'm just going to check quickly Teams, everything. Everybody should be able to see what I'm saying, hopefully. So let's go.
Ben, maybe you want to slightly zoom in your Visual Studio?
Yes. I am going to, not the Visual Studio itself, but just like the code is going to be like maxed out. So don't worry about it. So we are looking at a Xamarin forum application here. It's not very important, but ultimately we have a shared application which is here, and then we'll have an Android and iOS target that we will not really touch. For the sake of simplicity today, we will just focus on the Android project, and we're not going to be doing much at all. So as we want to focus on the testing part, we're going to build a simple piece of UI, the good old click on the button on a simple way, but bearing in mind that we want to test that little bugger. But we want to do that in, again, a UI test fashion. So we're not really going to use a test first here, because, well, we don't really have a hook of the meat of the platform. That's what you'll be doing with your unit test. Here we're simply just going to implement one page very, very quickly, and then look at how we can test that. So let me get starting by adding a new item to the application. That's going to be a content page, and we are going to call it, what are we going to call it? That's a good question. That is, let me just say, what is my naming convention again on that one? Button count page. Okay, path. I'm just going to like this, close that again, and go here. Sorry, add my name, content page, and we're just going to call it .xaml. Right. So that is going to be creating a simple content page. If you're familiar with Xamarin, you know what it is. I'm going to put it at 200, so it is nice and fat. You know what? I'm going to make it to 250. So it is like really, really big. You'll be able to see what happened in details. And behind, oh no, that's maybe a bit too big. I'm just making. Here we go. Then you see that on the code behind, we've got absolutely nothing. We're just telling by default, please compile the XAML. That is going just to resolve into a nice, simple dictionary that will allow the application to unpack those views very easily. So we are going to delete what is there. Actually, for the sake of argument, I want to do something simple. I am going to run that into my device. I do have an Android device which is tied to my computer at present, which is right here. That's a Nexus 6P. And I just want to deploy this application to the device to see what it looks like. And then just to let you know, in case you are not aware, that hot reload is here, which means that you can change your user interface as you go, save it, and that's going to be automatically refreshed. So let's have a quick look at that. So we can build your UI or UI by looking at what's actually happening, which would be kind of nice. Up, let me reposition my environment so we can have a look what's happening in the meantime on my device. Here we go. So, oh, that stopped. Great. Something happened and I don't really know what. Okay, that starts well. Welcome to the live demos. Let me uninstall this application first. That is looking at the device. Uninstall. Okay. What happened here? That is great. Okay, well, let's let's build on local build. Let's rebuild a solution again. And let's start again. Fantastic. You know, that proves that I'm doing that live. Things are breaking out already. Obviously, I will save my my live. I'd say, of course, a couple of minutes ago it was working, but yeah, clearly it is no longer doing it. I've got a fallback plan, but I'm going to give it another crack. Regardless. Delete a bunch of stuff here. Pages there. Okay. Let's try again, and hopefully that is not going to do anything naughty this time. I did move my Java environment, but it should be happy in case that fails. I'm going to launch and install an instance of Genymotion. That's a fallback plan. And please do not break. Okay, it's working. Fantastic. So yeah, so we just have the main page that is coded. What we want to do is just when we click on the count test, we'll just have a button that is going to count things around. So let's go to this page, button count page. And what we are going to do is just add a bit of user interface. So let's remove this part. I'm going to save. That should be showing that up here. It doesn't again. And tool, option, Xamarin. Up, enable that. That's great. Settings, fine. Refresh layout preview and code change. Yes, that's definitely what we want. Up, hot reload is enabled. For some reason, again, that is not refreshing, but well, that's great. Let me just check that. Button test, question mark. Can I do that? Okay, well, I will relaunch the application and that might be working. So let's continue and produce some user interface. So we're going to add a label to it, label, and the label is going to have a couple of properties. The properties are going to be, we just want to provide it a name. So the reason we want to provide it a name that is to provide a hook on the code behind, so we will be able to take some actions when something happens on that label. So let me call it click count label. And that sounds about right. Then we're going to put an automation ID. So what is an automation ID? That is an identifier that will allow our testing framework to actually get a hook on what's happening. I can see that I'm not sharing my video as well. I'm definitely not super well prepared. Here we go. Live from the attic, that's a bit better. You can see all the mess in the background. That's fantastic. That's basically my COVID plan. Automation ID, we're going to call it exactly the same thing. King Clown label, very, very good. And then some text, which is going to be no clicks yet, maybe. And then vertical options, we're going to say, please center and expand up. Let's see if I can see anything there. Ah, it disappeared, but it's still not kicking in. And then horizontal options are going to be a center. Great, so that is just going to be a simple label that will show some text when we will be interacting with a button. So let's add a button here, and we are going to up. Automation ID. We're not going to need to provide any name to this button because we are not going to interact directly. We'll simply just create an event handler for it. automation ID, and automation ID is going to be, what shall we call this thing? Count button. Then it's a bit like king button, count button. That's fantastic. Background color, we are going to make it, I don't know, deep sky blue. Deep sky blue sounds about right. Then we are going to put some piece of text, and the text is going to be click me, full of typo and casing. Click me, great. Text color, what color should we do it? Oh, just like white, so it doesn't look too ugly. Font size is going to be medium. Yep, and finally, once we're going to be clicking, we're just going to create an event handler that is going to do some stuff. So what is it going to do? Well, how about, yeah, when we click, we want just to tell the label, okay, we clicked one time or two times or whatever. So click count label, we've got it already, dot text, and we are going to equal up, click text time, clicked, and oops, sorry, clicked count. Create a property, please. Create a field, yes. And that sounds about right. And that's pretty much it, right? We just want to use the label to reflect that, and that's cool. I'm still a bit bemused on why my hot reload is not kicking in. Okay. Okay. Just going to build a solution, and I am going to also, can I disconnect and reconnect my, yeah, you know what, I'm going to disconnect my my phone quickly to try to reconnect it and have this beautiful live reload going on. In the meantime, we said that we had, yeah, that's okay, let's not do that. Let's disconnect, let's reconnect this little baby. It should be showing up somewhere now. Connected, devices, it's still connected here, that's great. Now, what we would like to do is, once it's finished to build, to run that part. And that will be pretty much that for that user interface, right? That's going to be nice and simple. Then we're going to be looking at the code, at the testing part, which is a bit that we open source, that is piggybacking on the test UI from the Xamarin team. And I can guarantee that it's making your testing experience a bit simpler, because we provided just, again, a lot of common patterns. So code should be needed in maybe 5% of the cases. All the other cases are just scattered for you already. All right, please, well, normally let's go here. No clicks here, that's fantastic. We've got a button. I just want to figure out if I just do that and save it. There's definitely something fishy going on here. Well, oh, sorry, no, I was at the wrong place. Something fishy going on. Whatever, that's the beauty of live coding. So, and if I click, oh, we did something wrong with the code. Clicked, oh, private object, yes, we didn't provide the fact that it was an int, so it's not going to be very happy. Count equal 1 up, and now if we relaunch, it would be expected. Well, in the meantime, let's have a look at another piece of the puzzle here. So we've got an application that is running, but now I'd like to test that when I click on this button, the label is going to say, hey, we clicked this button X amount of times. So to do so, we are going to be looking at a simple test project. I already created the scaffolding here. What we'll do is just simply add a feature that is, count test. Okay, that works. Did I press it? Yes, it doesn't work. Damn it. Oh, yes, of course. So if I'm not, that's fine. So I'm going to add a feature here. Add new item, and that's going to be a spec flow feature file, and we're going to call it button count page dot feature. Sounds about right. Okay, we are going to remove all the bit then and the features, just like I want to test that my button increments my label text, something like that. So then that is just for developers to know what's happening here. It's actually not great, but let's create a scenario. So a scenario here, scenario, there we go, is basically a container to add a series of steps. The steps are going to be when I click on the button click me, then I can see that the label is clicked one time, and if I click again, it's going to show click 2 times. So let's go with that. So we want to test that the following test: tapping 3 times on the button. Yeah, that's it. So now we are going to put our prerequisite, which is given I am, have I got any? I am on main page. So that is going to tell us, hey, I just want to make sure that we are at the right place of the application, and I can see and go to click count test. Yep, that is correct. And when I tap on that thing, which is basically when we are here, click count test, right? When I tap on go click count test button, then I am on the click count page. So let's start with that. Go to implementation, go to definition, doesn't matter. So that parts have been implemented already for you in this library that we've been sharing. We've got like some shared steps, common step, for instance, that is going to say, hey, I am on this page, on this page, on this page. So we're simply going to make sure that the window we are in has got a title on the navbar that is what we want it to be. For instance, here, given I can see, means that, hey, we're going to go on the screen if there's any element that's got this piece of text. Or if I tap on the button, it's just going to say, hey, just like, please just find a button that's got this identifier, and then please tap on that directly. So this is where it all binds. So we've got like a bunch of those. So that means that you don't really need to code anything. That is behind the scene going to do everything for you. So if I will need to put myself on local, the local mode just does a couple of things here. Let's have a look. I am on the right place. Let's see. It is just to allow us to piggyback on our base local feature, and what it does behind the scene is, hey, if we are running on local, please use the configuration file that will tell us where to run those tests. Otherwise, we are going to believe that we are on the cloud and we are going to be running those tests into the test cloud platform. That's all. And we didn't need to do like a kind of shared class in order to keep things simple. So that is working absolutely fine. Let's have a look at the test configuration file quickly. The only thing we're doing is just say for Android, hey, please, we've got an APK, so that's an Android package file for my application, is just here. And I'll show you how to generate that. For iOS, it will be, we need to provide the bundle name, the application name, and also the path to the application. So let's go and build our application, which is here, Android path. We're going to build it. Okay, great. Then we're going to package it. So you simply need to click on archive. That is archiving this little one. Fantastic. Take a couple of seconds. Hopefully. Yep, done. I just go to where it is. It's nested in a place I don't really like, so I'm just going to copy it. I am going to go to our work here, Xamarin, Android, and let me just do remote. Sorry. remove that to save this package in case something else fails. And I'm going to paste this package here. So company name demo app.apk. If we go back to our Visual Studio, we can see this is the path that I provided, right? That's great. So now we should be all set to run our application, to run our test. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here and let's debug. Let's build that thing. Then let's debug this test. Hopefully, okay. Good. All right, so that's doing exactly what we wanted it to do. Just go on the base and do a bunch of stuff. Let's get in. So we're just going to do what we need. As you can see, we're on local, so we're going to use our configuration. We're not in the cloud yet. And then we are going to initialize a bunch of stuff that you don't really need to worry about. That's running. So now it's just fishing the APK package and it's going to install it. If we look at the output here, we can see it's doing a bunch of stuff. It's again skipping something. It's just like initializing the device, signing the package with my key, and then that should be continuing, and that will launch the application, hopefully in a few seconds. Yes, here we go. So that's launching the application. I'm not touching anything here, by the way. It's going to be clicking. So before each test, let's do that. Let's go at, okay, given I am on the main page. As you can see, we're going to, yes, something else that we've been doing here is just we're saying, hey, we want to take a screenshot of all those steps. So let's have a look at what's the path. The path is going to be C screenshots. Let's go to C screenshots. Okay, let's get one of those. D. The directory doesn't exist yet. It's going to create it for me. Let's run there. The screenshots. Here we go. Now we've got some screenshots coming up, and that's the one that's been created today. Whatever. Let's keep going. Let's have a look at the identifier. The identifier is F9 something something F9. That's this guy. I'm going to delete anything else, so we are not really. So now we're saying, hey, am I on this page? Sure I am. Definitely on this page. Works. Did I take a screenshot? Yet. Up. No, I didn't. That's good. Let's keep going. And I can see go to this screen, and I can see that there is a go to click count test. So that is the button that we named so on our application. And he said that it's okay, cool, and we're saving the screenshot. So now we can see that the screenshot has been saved, and we can have a look at it here. So that's going to do that for all the steps. I'm just going to move along and just like, yeah, whatever, something happened, it's fantastic. That's the way to go. So let's have a look at, yeah, so a screenshot has been taken, it's been doing something, it failed again, that's great. Let's figure out what was happening. Could not follow an unit framework. It's definitely the run unit test. That is going to fare great. Oh, put two G's there. Oh, great. That's what happens when you do some last minute change. Doesn't matter. That's okay. Let's continue. So let's assume that everything would have been running absolutely fine, and that would have been punched a bunch of buttons. And we're going to have a look I just ran it beforehand, and we got that running on the cloud already. So let's do something else now, which is we want to run those tests on the cloud. And this is what we've been preparing actually a bit before. Actually, you know, I've got a way where I could run it that would be running better. If I go to Xamarin Android, I just delete this one and I go to the local one, up. That should be doing the do something like file state all discard all this. Good. Reload all. Fantastic. I just went ahead and just created a bit more steps to save a bit of time. Let me rebuild that part. Okay, and let's try to run the unit test for it. We will have a bit more green. If it will go straight to the cloud. Wait, it is right. That's running. We found it. Yes, it works. So as you can see, it's just like clicking automatically, following the scenarios we're looking at 2 times and 3 times. Go, and the test should be successful. There's another bunch of tests, but I'm going to stop them. So next part, we're going to figure out how can we test that on the cloud, because it's very nice to test it locally, but we might as well try to do that in an automated fashion. That is good for development. That's exactly what you want to do. So let's go to App Center, which is right here. And we are going to be creating a new application. So App Center is a one-stop shop for testing, building, deploying, monitoring mobile applications. So we want to have an Android application that is going to be a Xamarin application. The app name is going to be GAB 2020 Android. Very good. Release type, we don't care. Alpha, fantastic. Add a new application. Done. Let's take note of that part because we'll have to change it in order to be able to have a hook on App Center. Then what we're going to do is actually let's do that now maybe. So I'm just going to go on our application that is here and show you how we can hook the application to App Center. So the way we need to do that is on the when the application instantiating Xamarin form, we want to say, hey, when the application starts, please App Center, let's register yourself with the identifier that will allow my application just to talk to you. And we already installed the SDK for App Center that is going to provide us analytic, crashes, and distribution. And then what I can do, I can say, hey, I want to App Center to know that I am Ben. So I am Ben, that's me, or Ben user, that's me. I'm a user, so you can tell it, hey, I want to track the username or user identifier, so I know what user is having some crashes, is performing some actions, and so on. The other thing that we want to be doing with App Center while we're here before we distribute that part here is kind of nice. So once you use the App Center SDK for distribution, that means that you can do one thing that is useful, which is force upgrade your application. So let's say that you've got a new version of your application and you absolutely don't want your user to use the last one because there is an API breaking change, for instance, which could be a good reason. By controlling this application with App Center, the distribute part, you can tick a box telling App Center when you release a new application, please tell the user to force upgrade. And when they will just launch their current application, they will get a pop-up saying, hey, sorry, a new version exists, you have to upgrade. And you don't have to do anything, just put that thing here and you're done. It's really good. The crashes is going to allow us to get some information when the application crash, and we're going to make it crash in a couple of times, different ways. And then we are also going to allow analytics, which is basically in an ad hoc fashion. In this case, when the user clicks the button, we want to say, hey, please just log that so we can have analytics about it. So let's go to our button count page on the code behind and see what we added here. So here I just, we added a line saying analytics. Please track the event. Every time somebody clicks on the button, we want to say the button has been clicked X time by user. You can even go by user. You can go like and user. Here we go. Yep. User, then user, by user. What am I doing? By user, then user. Okay. Tab. You see you want to use a variable here. The other thing we want to do is just to try to log a little bit of crashing. So we built another page which is here, entry to label, where we can put a bit of text and just tap here to perform an action. So what I sneakily did in order to save again a bit of time, I added a few things. So first of all, when we are going to add to a type error on the UI, what we want to do is just log a new exception. So you can create your own properties, such as just like GAB 2020. Context, let's say context, GAB 2020, and user. That's always me. And then, oops. And then you're just going to log to App Center an exception, and you can put any properties. If you throw an exception, you can just pretty much simply pass it here and add any properties that you want. What we want to do as well is create a division by 0 in order to have a sure way to crash it. By the way, did you know that Roslyn prevents you from doing that these days? So if I do like a var error equal 1 divided by 0, now that is actually an exception. So that's just like, yep, can do a thing. So let's in order to avoid that, well, you can go a convoluted way, and that will work. So that will crash our application. Okay, so let's build all that. We can package it. And now, and it's not on local, we want to do that on debug because we want it to run on App Center. So let's rebuild this application, and then we'll be able to upload it to App Center. To upload it, actually, I don't really need to rebuild, right? The only thing I need to do is to go to my repo, which is here. We can see that the change I did there is just a couple of changes here, up. If I stage all those guys, and I say just added stuff for GAB 2020 demo, and I can commit. That is going to write to our GitHub repository, and then we'll be able to get hold of it. So now we're back on App Center. Let me make it a bit like chunkier. There we go. Let's go and build our solution. So first of all, we want to go to GitHub. You can use Azure DevOps with Bucket, GitLab, but currently we're on GitHub because we're open source, because we're nice, and so on and so on. Let's have a look at my Xamariners end-to-end one. That there, we're going to use a develop one. I did stuff for GAB 2020, right here, right there. Excellent. Let's configure the build. That is going to be on debug. That's what we want. We've got everything else, but we want debug. Then we are going to be using Android 10.2. We're not going to use a pre-built script. You can just add your script that are going to add some operation before and after. I will strongly recommend that instead of doing that, if you were to do some operation beforehand, use GitHub Action or Azure DevOps. That otherwise it's been like kind of hard to maintain, I believe. Build frequency is just going to be, there is my camera on. Yes, my camera is on, fantastic. Automatically increment the version code. We don't care. Environment variables, we're not going to take care of it. We want to sign the build in order to be able to run that on devices. So I should have that somewhere. Where was that? Here. Here, I've got, no, that's not there. Nope. Ah, yes, here you go. So I've got my key store file, which is there. I'm going to put my password. And you don't know what my password is, then we could test on the real device. Sure, let's do it. And that is simply going for free to launch App Center and just show us that it looks great and fantastic. We're not going to distribute the build right now. We just want to save and build it. Let's do it. So that is just going to do the needful. In the meantime, I am going to show you couple of other stuff, such as getting our build ready for testing. So if we wanted to run our own test, UI test, the one that we just created a bit earlier, what we want to do, we want to create a new test run. Let's look for which configuration. Please select at least one device to continue. We want to use phones only. And you've got a variety of devices that you want to test. What you want is to use one that's got quite a lot of instances available. So those devices are real devices that are, you probably saw an App Center talk beforehand. They're hosted on a farm of devices. They're real, and you just send tests to them, and they're going to execute those tests. So how many of those? We've got 8 devices. No, I want at least 10 devices. Maybe these guys got it. Yes, you see, 5 devices, not good. Oh, exit note, no. I want a 10. That is going to be 10 devices available. Fantastic. Let's take that one. That was a 10. We could do more devices, right? Let's get a, I don't know, OnePlus. Is OnePlus popular? How many have we got? 4 devices. Maybe not. Google Pixel should be all right. I mean, 9 devices. Really, really good. Let's get this one. Okay, 2 devices. Test series. We are going to create a new test series, which is GAB tests. Okay, so you can have order your test by whatever you want. We support Appium, Calabash, Espresso, and Xamarin UI Test. So I'm going to use Xamarin UI Test. Again, Xamarin UI Test behind the scene is C#, right? It's .NET. So we simply just added a Cucumber layer on top of it. Right, then it tells you to do a bunch of stuff, which is install a node, App Center, CLI, and so on, and ultimately just provides you this information that will help us run our tests. So let me get this information and make it a little bit better. So what we want is I want to have my, sorry, in the meantime, so let's have a look what the state of the build. The build is still building. Okay, now it already built and it's looking just to run some tests. You see, it's just like waiting for a device to be available, and then it's just going to be running that test. In the meantime, I'm just going to prepare that magic, like the test, right? So I simply need to do some manipulation because it takes a little while otherwise. That's my devices. Yep. And then app path is what we think it is. GAB tests. Yep. Local, and should be good. Okay, cool. So just filled the blanks. I'm just going to get an instance of my Windows terminal, which should be somewhere here. And what we're going to do is just tell App Center to run our tests on the cloud. So what we're going to do is that I'm just saying, hey, App Center, please. Oh, I did it twice. Uh-oh, why does it do it twice? I've got no idea. Let me. Okay, so again, we say App Center command. Command just we want to use the test command laterally. We want to run the UI test, and this is the application we're looking at, which is our App Center application here, GAB 2020 for Android. And we want, so that number, this identifier is a set of devices we want to run it against. That is a path to our APK. Talking about it, the path to our APK. Let me go back to it. That is going to be, did we do it 1102? Probably not. I need to, we built it already, did we? I believe we built it. Let's have a look at output. All succeeded, yes. We need to package it. We need to package it. So we can just send it to App Center with the correct identifier. Well, that's not going to be logging. Well, we won't have all this nice logging. And then we can go to the folder. The folder is there, and then we can go to here. That was, we can delete that. Okay, that should be the one on the remote configuration, and then we should be able to build that properly. So grab this package. The test series is called GAB test, local, whatever. The build directory for my test is we were in debug mode, and that's pretty much what it was. And then we need to sometimes provide the path to where our unit test tools are. So that is kind of standard, and that's on the documentation of the package we provide. So let's run that and hope for the best. Excellent. So it's going to take a while. It's just going to basically figure out that all the assets are cool to go. And then that is going to upload the package, and then it's going to start running the test, and it will be running. So in the meantime, let's have a look if our build finished. It's still building because it's still waiting for a test to complete. Well, that's taking a while. Let's see how long I have. Probably not so long. So I'm going to accelerate. I prepared the result beforehand. So let me switch to a previous one I did, which is this GAB Android Test. So we built it a bit earlier, and what the build did is just exactly that, right? Which is stuff for GAB 2020 demo. Fantastic. If we look at the log, that is nice and great. It's going to tell us it is successful, and then we can distribute or download it. Let's have a look at the test itself. So the first test that ran was actually that guy here, which will simply show us, hey, the app is launching, which is what we will get a bit later once our GAB 2020, not test, configuration is running. But this is what you see, and you can see how the hardware has been just used, what is the CPU usage, and so on. And you can have a look at the logs as well if you feel like it with your steps. So that is cool. Then once that will finish to be running, and we can see that it's still uploading files, what it will do is run that test. One of them failed on purpose to show a failure. So we can see that here, the test tap 3 times on the button passed. Let's have a look at it. And that is exactly the same steps as we saw a bit earlier, right? And actually I can prove it by going back to my, let's go back to here. We can go back to C, and we are looking at screenshots, and that would have been the later one, which is this one. And we can see that all that's a bunch of screenshots that has been taken locally when we run our test a bit earlier, right? And if we go to App Center, pretty much we will get exactly the same screenshots. See, number 3 is click me. Number 3 here is also click me. It does exactly the same thing. And then it's going to say, hey, I clicked on the button one time, there we go, and I validate that. 2 times, 3 times, and I validate that. And you can actually see the log of what we've been doing, which is, hey, first of all, we want to wait for this element that is main page. Then we want to click on the element called go to click count test. And then we want to basically click on the button and just make sure that it's been clicked one time and so on and so on. So you can see basically all the log for it, which is kind of very nice. And you can see also all the usage of your application every time you just perform an action, which is pretty nifty. So all the test is successful. In case of failure, what you will see is something along those lines. So, okay, that is cool, that works. But here, I tap on the button and then nothing really happened. So there's a failure here. So let's see on the log what is happening. Well, I've got a bunch of errors just say that the click count does not exist because the button has been renamed to. So that is working absolutely fine. Let's have a look at the status of our upload. It is running on. It is running. So if we go back to our community GAB 2020 Android, we can see that the tests now are currently running. So the build finished. We can see that is the actual one that we started a bit earlier. And then this is the test series that is running on a real device at present. The app does launch and it's going to, that is this one, right? And well, we don't have any information yet, but it will come. The other thing that we produced, and I can show you, is just like a, we can see the diagnostics on the errors. So we didn't test that quite yet, but I can just do that while we've got the application open. So if I want to make to log an error, I just simply go here and I click here, and that is going to log an error, I believe. And if we want the application to crash, I will click, no, not to crash, we want it to crash. I will click here and the application crash. And what we'll be able to see on App Center is some issues popping up. I am on the right one though. It might take a bit of time. So let's go to the one that I ran previously, because otherwise that will make its way, but just take a little bit of time. Yes, I'm there. So if we look at the GAB 2020 Android test, let's have a look. No, the diagnostic one not there. That was, sorry. Yeah. So you can see here when I just wanted to log an exception by explicitly saying, hey, please App Center log this exception. Well, I get all that, right? And you've got pretty much it. That is my device. That was just like the test I ran a bit earlier, right? So my user was at the time I am Ben, and this is my Android device. Next is 6P. That's absolutely perfect. If you wanted to actually send a proper crash, well, that was when we tried to do an attempt to divide by 0. And sure enough, it is absolutely here. We tried to divide by 0, and that failed, which is cool. And then we had the analytics, and the analytics were pretty good. That was just telling me every time we want to click somewhere, we want to show something happening. So that is just exactly what happened. The analytics are just visible. You can see which user has been doing it, and so on. So that is pretty powerful. So in one hand, again, all the unhandled exceptions are going to be caught, just like this, dividing by 0, and you can log your own exception. And finally, we can just like log our analytics to figure out how our users are using the application. And you can see it in terms of device, in terms of just like, absolutely everything. So that is kind of cool. Finally, what we have is that we can distribute the application. So let's go back again to the examiners community, and we want to have the bootcamp, Azure bootcamp. So sorry, GAB 2020 Android. Here we go. I want to distribute it to my mobile application. So that's fine. We already have a release which was built here on develop here. So I can go here and I can say, please distribute it to collaborators. I think that I am inside. Am I? Distribute groups, collaborator, testers. testers. I want to manage my tester, which is here, and we want to get that user, which is my phone, up. Done. So I'm a developer. Yeah, cool. That's great. Now I can go back to my build. Develop, fantastic. Here, distribute. I want to distribute to my collaborators, to tester, that's me. Next, yep, that's pretty much what we want. Mandatory update, again, once you use the distribution SDK on your application, that will force your user to update your application. And then if I distribute it, if I look at my visor, where's my visor? My visor is here. I should be getting an email. Gmail here. Here we go. That's me, 1:05 p.m. I've been invited to there. I can go to applications. Tests are still running, as you can see. It's real. What we wanted is looking at the wrong place. GAB 2020 Android. And I click on this one. I can download it. Download. Yep. And that is downloading. I may want to uninstall my application beforehand, otherwise that is going to scream again. Okay. Downloading. Happy. And hopefully that is going to be working. So this is my demos today. Well, to be fair, again, it's I just like finished this testing framework literally this morning. Yes, app installed, that works. Yep, my app is applicating. I can just click count here and I can just click, yeah, click multiple times, that's great. And here, if I just say error, we should go to log an error. And then if we want to crash up, great, and that is crashing. And finally, let's have a look. Yeah, I think I've got 3 minutes. Sen, have I got like 2 minutes to finish, or what's the status there?
You're already overrun, but anyway, it's fine.
Are you over? It's just to show that logged something. I think there's nothing new here. We are on the GAB 2020 demo. That is great. Let's have a look at the diagnostics. Now that didn't make its way there yet. Yes, we can see that we've got a bit of events maybe. Yep, look, see, that's showing up. It's fantastic. The diagnostics are maybe going to take a little bit longer just to get in, but that's okay. And finally, let's have a look if our test is been completed. It's still running. Oh, well, we'll leave it at it. Oh, at least, hey, yeah, this one has been completed. Fantastic. So this is what we've been uploading, and we can see tapping 3 times on a button. Yeah, worked absolutely well in one device at least. So I think that wraps it up. So just to go back to this testing framework that we released, is just again to allow simplifying testing for allowing no code. Calabash kind of provide that, but that is kind of running on .NET, and we're providing a lot of most common test steps. So your QA department will be able just to do that easily. So just to look at it, we release that I think to our Xamariners NuGet as well. Probably NuGet Xamariners. We should have the spec flow Xamariners unit test. Yep, end-to-end. Those are here, and we got the one for Blazor as well. I'll be writing some blog posts about it very, very soon and send it across. I think that's it for me. We probably have time for like half a question.
Yeah, Ben would be here for another minute for a question. Any question, please type in there, guys. Thank you. I think no questions, Ben. So probably we can end the session now. Then we'll start the other session in shortly. Okay. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you very much for looking at this thing, and just try out again if you want to be try to do some testing using Cucumber on literally anything, web, mobile, backend or whatever, just like we're open sourcing all these things and it's on NuGet for you to grab. If you want to use it and I'm not sure, just drop me a line at ben@xamarin.com and I'll be able to help you out. Sayonara.